All right, this video I'll show you guys how to find cash buyers. All right, we're doing this on PropWire. As I said in the previous video, PropWire isn't really a crazy tool to use, but this is again for beginners, the ones that don't have a lot of money to spend on finding buyers. I give you guys many other things. First, obviously, go on Facebook groups. I'll show you guys how to do that here shortly. But we'll kind of just start that with pulling a list of cash buyers and sending them out through SMS. So first things you always want to select is the zip code that the deal is in, right? So we'll just throw in a random zip code here, and we'll just click this zip code, right? So for lead type, you always want to click cash buyers. For property type, you want to select the deal that you're trying to sell. So if it's a lot, then you want to click lot land. If it's a home, then you want to click home. Price and bed, it really doesn't matter. Then you go to owner filter, right? You want to, for absentee owner, you want to click yes, right? And then for individual type, you want to click individual. However, right, sometimes, if you guys aren't able to get deals, or excuse me, if you guys aren't able to get cash buyers, you could always play around with the filter and always remove absentee owner. But for the most part, you always want to keep individual type as the owner, because again, if it's a business, 9 times out of 10 they're not going to respond to you or even pay you any mind. But property owned by owners, you always want to have at least 3 minimum, right? Just so you can at least see if he's an active investor and actually has a few properties under his belt. And then last sale date, I always want to make sure, we're contacting active buyers, not people that haven't bought in years. So you want to make sure last sale date is just a year from today. And that's it, right? I mean, you click save, and then you should get a list of 12 cash buyers. Obviously, once you do it on a, something like Deal Machine or batch leads, I prefer batch leads when it comes to finding cash buyers. You get a lot more results. You probably end up getting like 40 or 50, and that's always a good start. Now, let's say this ends up being 0, right? You can't find anybody within this zip code. Next advice would just go be to county, right? So you always want to put, let's say Dallas County, or we'll just put Dallas County, right? In that case, now you have 970 buyers. Obviously, I'm sure your subject property is somewhere over here, so 9 times out of 10 calling these buyers probably won't make too much sense. But then you can continuously narrow it down by just zooming in or drawing a line here if you want to. You know what I'm saying? But it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And if you really can't find any buyers, then you could always go to the county. But again, if both of those don't work, another thing I always want to say is, or if you run through the entire list and not a single buyer is interested, then you could try businesses, right? Because again, you want to try every single avenue, and takes a lot harder to actually find the phone numbers. But if you can, you're pretty much at least getting some feedback and understanding why your deal is not getting sold. And then you kind of renegotiate or figure out an exit strategy from there. So this is one way to find cash buyers. Another I would want to say is through Facebook, right? So we'll just go to Facebook here, and depending on the state you're in, right? So if you're in, let's say Dallas cash buyer. Right, all right. In fact, well, you see, you have a few groups here already, right? But we'll go a little bit better. We'll say Dallas real estate, and then you have a lot of groups. Typically, I just click groups here, and then you have DFW, real estate investment deals, real estate groups, investors, just pretty much just joining every single DFW, group that you see. And just posting your deals there, right? Because that's the best way to find cash buyers as well if you really have zero money. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer. Some of the people on here, you want to vet thoroughly and make sure they are deals. On top of that, you could also JV with a lot of people, right? Because there's a lot of people on here that want to JV, and if it's your first time and you just want to get a deal sold, you could find somebody to JV with. Or you can JV with me as well, right? So I kind of give you the opportunity if you want to JV with me. I'll let you keep majority of the proceeds. We'll go 60-40, and I'll help you look for a cash buyer. But that's also another opportunity. But even if I'm helping you look for a cash buyer, I always implore you guys to not just sit back and relax. Excuse me. Go up here and look for cash buyers yourselves as well, right? Because 9 times out of 10, you probably end up finding one before me, and then you end up keeping up your whole entire assignment fee, right? So I'm sure you guys would love to not have to give up a percentage, right? So if you guys want to find your own buyers, this is typically the way to do it. And another way, actually, would just be to look at posts, man. If once this loads, a lot of people will post. Let me see. A lot of people will post deals like this, right? So you'll just go in the comments. Majority of these people, like zip code, he's interested, and then you have this guy. But majority of these people, they're interested in deals. They wanna get them moved. So you can contact these people, right, and say, hey, look, are you guys looking for deals in this area? I have this deal here, right? So you could kind of reverse engineer it and then find buyers that way as well. If you really, really can't find buyers the other two ways, I will always try doing all three, right? Because it increases your chances of actually getting the deal sold. So yeah.